And so anyway,
so you're married before you had a job?
what a deal. I don't advise it.
Yeah.
I don't advise it.
Did she have a job?
No, neither of us did.
So y'all were married and didn't have a job?
Yeah.
Where were y'all living?
Matt Woolley Podcast.
Our guest today is Garret Peters. That's spelled with a P. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Garret. Who is Garret Peters? Well, he's a friend. He's a husband and father. Garrett's past experience includes he's a University of Central Arkansas graduate.
Let's go.
He was a senior sales analyst at the J.M. Smucker company. He was a national account manager at the Harvest Group. That's where I first met you.
Bingo.
And then business development director of strategic partnerships at Arena. And then he decided to get all buck wild and go crazy into the world of entrepreneurship. And he is the co-founder and CEO at Duncan Stone Paper Company.
Nailed it.
Did I miss anything?
No. I mean, listen, we do have 3 kids. That's a great little rundown.
Well, I said husband
you
and
did
father.
Husband and father. That's right. Okay, sorry, I missed that.
Husband and father.
I lost you at the P. I lost you when you said with the P, and that was amazing. That was the best. That was the best. No, I think you nailed it, man. I think you absolutely nailed it.
All right. So Garret Peters.
Yep.
For those that don't know Garret Peters.
Oh, boy.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Actually, the last weekend, it's the 10th today when we're recording this. Last weekend was my 20-year high school reunion.
Oh, wow.
So how hilarious is that? Grew up in Fort Smith.
Been there.
Yeah. Grew up in Fort Smith.
Did they, wait, did they actually have a reunion?
Oh, yeah. No,
They really did?
No, 100%. We did a 20-year reunion.
Was like Facebook and stuff? Like, you can't get
I know.
anybody to
I
get
hate
anything.
Facebook. I hate Facebook. But I did see that we had this reunion, and I know the guy that was kind of putting it together. So I was like, I'm going to come
And people
down,
show
check it
up?
out. Yeah, people showed up.
Was it a good time?
It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't like, I don't know if it was worth me driving down for that event. Honestly, it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Was it interesting to see that everybody got old except for you?
Yes, yeah, I mean, I looked so good. I was the best looking guy there by far. Oh man, but yeah. So my parents still live in Fort Smith. Grew up there, and then left to go to Conway, to UCA.
Why Conway?
Which is great. You know, at the time, few reasons. I knew myself enough that if I went to U of A, I kind of thought that I might lose my mind.
I understand.
Honestly, I was like, it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm going to get caught up in doing stuff I probably shouldn't do. And so
you thought Conway was more subdued?
yes. Yeah. That dry county in Conway.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I loved it, dude. I loved Conway, UCA. Yeah. It's some of my best friends even to today.
What time is this?
2004.
Okay.
2004 to 2008.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's... trying to think that. Yeah, well, yeah. So Conway was for those that know about Central Arkansas. It's really starting to build.
Yeah.
It's not the Conway it is today.
It's not.
Yeah.
They had way less roundabouts, most for sure. How many roundabouts do they have there? It's out of control.
It's the new thing. Dude, look, here's the thing. I like a roundabout as long as people know how to use it.
We don't know how to use it.
We don't know how to use roundabouts.
In Northwest Arkansas, we don't.
I literally almost got into an accident like 2 days ago where a guy came to a dead stop waiting for me to come out, and there were like 4 people behind him.
What are you doing, man?
Keep going, man.
Keep going.
Roundabout.
Those people down in Central Arkansas, they're all about that roundabout.
They are.
They've like leaned in, and they're like all in on it. So, man, UCA was great. Went down there, ended up meeting my wife my senior year of college. So we started dating in 2007, 2008. Stephanie is my wife. Met her down in Conway, which was great. And so we got married in 2009. She's actually from Conway.
Okay.
She came up here for school. So she was at U of A from like 2003 to 2007, and then came back to Conway. So she was there. So that's where she grew up.
So then you persuaded her to come back.
Yes, 100%. So we got married in 2009, and neither of us really wanted to live in Conway. Loved it, but really didn't want to like live in Central Arkansas. And I really didn't want to move to Fort Smith. No offense to Fort Smith. Listen, Fort Smith, that's fine. All good. So we were like, where are we going to live and start our family and life? Northwest Arkansas. This is a place to be. So we moved up here in 2009.
You live in Fayetteville?
I live in Fayetteville. Yep. Been here so I've been married for 15 plus years now and basically been in Fayetteville for that long too.
How many kids?
So we have 3 kids.
Nice.
We have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
Okay.
What about you? How many kids do you have?
2.
One just graduated.
One just graduated high school.
Okay.
And the other is 15. Vince is 18 and Grace is 15.
Amazing. Yeah, so we're behind you. We're behind you guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's awesome. But
how old are you, Hannah?
I was like 25 or something.
Yeah, no, so
26.
that's right. See, that's right. So we had Vince early. We had Vince at 23, and then we had Grace at 26. And a lot of people at the time, since you brought this up, they thought we were crazy. Like, I've got friends and family, and there's nothing wrong with it. Your life is your life, but I got friends and family that are like, they have like 5. They're my age and have like 5 and 6 years old, and that's okay. Yeah, but I'm laughing now, and here's why. I told everybody at the time, me and Leslie were always kind of like, everybody, you'd see the Facebook pictures of, 2 people going to the Bahamas. Like, life is great. Yeah. Young and free. But I said, that's okay, because whenever we get older, the kids are going to be self-sufficient, and we can do what we want.
And then you have more means to do, potentially.
Correct.
It's potentially have more means.
That's basically.
I mean, really.
That was the hope, and, praise God, that's where it's at. And so
that's
nice
amazing.
Little sweet spot.
That's amazing, man.
So, yeah.
I can't believe you have a 18-year-old.
Well,
you don't look that, and that confirms to me, because I actually didn't know. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
But I didn't know you had like older kids.
Yeah,
like, you look young. You look good. Seriously, man. I mean, you do. You didn't even pay me to say that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
That's funny.
Well, you're not a bad looking.
Oh man,
listen.
I know we did it. What are we doing? What are we doing?
You want to eat coffee later?
I know. Seriously. What are you doing? What are you doing later today?
Yeah.
So we came to Fayetteville in 2009 and started our life. Back to my story. But
let's quickly circle.
Bring it back. Bring it back. That's so funny, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, having. Well, let me ask you this. Let's go back to that just for a second. Sure. On a serious note, did having kids propel, adulthood for you in the sense of like ambition and in the sense of striving for
Totally.
Okay.
It changed. I think getting married is a major step to like begin to understand yourself. Like when you have this person you're living with that is like, you're now doing life with them, you get exposed. Like all of your flaws, all of your stuff is beginning to get exposed.
That never happened to me.
Never happened to you. You wouldn't understand this. You don't have any flaws.
No.
I mean, what are you talking about?
I'm constantly picking Leslie apart.
Yeah, for sure. You play that role for your wife.
I try to be a good mentor.
Well, Stephanie plays that role for me. And so I was like, oh, shoot, I'm really not as great as I thought I was. But then when you have kids, it is like majorly kind of like expedites the sense of like, I gotta freaking figure this out. Right. Like I have this child now that I'm responsible for. What am I doing? Like what is this responsibility I now have?
Did it amplify with, because y'all have 3.
We have 3.
Did it amplify with number 2?
I'm just as much. I think
Go ahead.
But for me, number 2 was a big game changer for me.
It was.
You go from, zone D to man D.
Well, so that's the reason why I asked that. So when we had Vince, it was kind of like we were still young, and thank God, and shout out to my in-laws, Danny and Sue,
amazing,
who live close by. Huge. That's a huge help. They still allowed us to kind of grow as a family, and get into more adulting with a little bit of relief. I feel sorry for people that do not have that.
Yeah.
But when we had Vince, it was still kind of like, all right, there's a third one of us, and it's just kind of like, we're just 3 of us doing a thing, right? Yeah. But for whatever reason, flash forward when we had Grace about 3.5 years later, it was all of a sudden like, okay.
Yeah.
It's true game on. This is
different.
This is a family.
Yes.
This is a family. I don't know why why it was that way for me, but it was like smelling salt. And it wasn't that I was acting irresponsible. Like thought I had a little friend that I was toting around or something.
We're just hanging out. Let's go.
I was like, let's have beers. No. But no, it wasn't like that. It was I don't know. It was just kind of like it was the true 100%. Like this is. We're doing this thing.
Parenting is such a weird deal, man. You know, and I think that me and you we're lucky enough to have kids that we've gotten to experience it. It's the most challenging and difficult thing. It's got to be up there, but it's the most rewarding thing too.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's like such a weird deal.
You never. I tell people, you never really grasp having. Your decisions before a family, at least for me and my stubborn self, at times, decisions for me were like, okay, how is this going to affect Matt? And then when Leslie come along, I was like, how is this going to affect Matt and Leslie?
Yeah.
But Leslie's going to be pretty easy with this, so let's just
it's really just you.
Let's just move forward with this. And then when the kids come along, I was like, okay, so probably shouldn't be stupid in any of these decisions. And also, I tell everybody this: you don't know what it's like until you're in the club.
Yep,
and
that's true.
And I don't struggle with people that don't have kids or anything like that. But there is a difference.
Totally, 100%.
So
it's a reality. Come on, man! There you go.
It just collapsed.
That's fine, people.
Yeah, this is a fun podcast. So
I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so let's get back to Garrett.
Okay,
we're going to talk about Garrett. Okay.
Oh gosh.
All right. So, let's talk about school for a second because I want to get in the mind of where you come from. What was your ambition in when you say what did you think you were going to do?
Gosh. Well, so this is kind of hilarious, and people that know me know that the degree I got. I was originally thinking about going to med school. Actually,
really?
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't.
Dr. Peters.
It doesn't sound well. It doesn't sound good.
Paging Dr. Peters.
Yeah, I would be. I mean, anyway. Shout out to any of the medical people in medical field, doctors, etc. I have a friend that's a doctor, and
me too.
It's amazing. Man, so
is he smarter than you?
Yeah, way.
Mine is
way smarter. Yeah, I wouldn't have made it.
Do you call him like, dude, what's up with?
Yeah, I call him out all sorts of stuff.
I've got this thing.
Hey, man, I got a foot thing. He's like, call an orthopedic or something. I can't help you. He's just Googling stuff. And I'm like,
for the last time, I'm an ENT.
What do you? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I thought I was going to go to med school.
Okay.
I got a degree that was kind of in the science fields, and thought I would go to med school. Didn't end up going that route.
Are you a science guy?
You still love science.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love I want my kids to go into stuff like this. I think it's awesome. Big nerd.
Me too.
So love math, love physics, love chemistry, all that stuff.
You don't actually understand these things.
Don't understand any of it now. Dude, my kids bring home school stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is.
Forget about it.
You better ask your mom.
Forget about it.
So I had, what's funny, Matt, and we'll get to some of our business kind of stuff later. I had 0 business classes in college. Mm-hmm. At 0. Not even, nothing. Mm-hmm. Which I find hilarious because when I left school, I immediately thought, I spent about a year working in the medical field down in Little Rock. And I'm like, this really isn't for me. I kind of need to go into business. Mm-hmm. This is more of my personality, my style, my I want to figure out how to do that.
More sense.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
And so when we moved to Fayetteville, I'm like, how do I get into the business world? I had no experience, which is a story in itself that we could talk there. But man, for me, I love school. Mm-hmm. I was always driven. I always wanted to make all A's. I just was driven. That from a young age. Mm-hmm. My mom was a teacher. There was just an expectation of you're going to do well in school. And so as much as I screwed around with friends, I took it very seriously. So I was like, I'm going to get after it in school. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. Always did good. I was book smart.
See, I've always been more street smarts.
See.
I got a little bit of school learnings and just more street smarts. That's always been. But you made a point there. You said you didn't have any business experience. Well, honestly, I think that's not a bad thing as long as you're driven.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more educational than the school of hard knocks. Ooh. I always say,
come on,
it's true.
It's true.
And I also tell everybody, it's one of my favorite sayings. It's the stuff you choke on that you never forget. And
that's a good one. I like that. It's true.
It is true. You make enough mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's when you make a mistake in the corporate world, which I was in banking. That's where I got my start.
Yep. In
the corporate world, you make a mistake. There's a different type of forgiveness. Well, you screw away a $1 million account. Well, then there's probably not much forgiveness there.
You gone?
Yeah, that's it. See ya. But there's more tolerance because there's more give.
Yeah.
But whenever you're a small business guy, those mistakes, they can cost a lot of money, a lot of problems.
Yep. 100%.
So, anyways, but we'll get off into that in a minute.
We'll get into that.
So let's talk about real quick. I just want to talk about just blast through. So, how'd you land a job at the Smucker company? Mm-hmm. Did you just have I
love jelly.
Fascinating.
That's a big.
You took my joke. All right. Did you have a fascination with jellies and jams?
I was just, back to those days at UCA. I'm studying chemistry in the lab, and I just find myself wanting to make jellies and jams. Just like, how is this stuff made? No, dude. Okay, so I was actually, when I first moved to Fayetteville,
part of your chemistry background.
I actually started working at a company called the North Star Partnering Group down in Fayetteville. It's nothing. Just now, field agent kind of came out of that. Rick and Henry Ho started. North Star, the OG guys around here. Love those guys. And so that for me was a big step. They and some other people, Mark Yount was there, and all these other amazing leaders were like, they took a chance on me, honestly. Because I came in, I had no, like I said, no business
background. But you probably had charisma and the right attitude.
I guess so. I convinced them. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. Just let me, I need a job.
Give me a spot.
We were married, like we were a young married couple. Yeah. We didn't know what we were doing. And so anyway.
So you're married before you had a job?
What a deal. I don't advise it.
Yeah.
I don't advise it.
Did she have a job?
No, neither of us did.
So y'all were married and didn't have a job?
Yeah.
Where were y'all living?
Yeah, we lived out of in a van down by the river, basically. we got married and moved to Fayetteville and didn't have jobs, and so we just started looking. No, I'm not kidding.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, what faith?
We were dummies.
Was your faith driving that? Or
I guess
no?
It was
just going for it. Just going for it.
Just going for it.
It's going to work out.
Well, I was stressed. Let me be clear.
No, okay.
Like, I was stressed about it. I mean, I can kind of laugh about it now, but Stephanie's always had, and she has a gift of faith for sure. So she's like, we're going to be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I came up, had some connections, and I was like, I'm just going to leverage this small network of people I have. Got able to get a job, and we moved up not long after we moved, and was rocking and rolling. But back to Smucker's, I really wanted, so we were working with Walmart and Sam's brands. Mm-hmm. And for me, I was getting tons of learning and education, but I still didn't know what it was like to be on the brand side. So part of me just wanted that experience of like, I really want to be on the brand and like work for the company. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I ended up at Smucker's.
That's awesome.
And I love jelly and peanut butter. Dude, they have so many amazing brands.
Oh, they really do.
Oh, yeah. They have a ton of brands.
Absolutely do.
So I started working.
Brands.
They have a great team, and they've changed a lot over the years, too, with different acquisitions and stuff. Mm-hmm. But when I was there, I loved my time at Smucker's. It was really good.
That's awesome. Really good. What made you transition to a Harvest Group?
A couple things. By that time, we had 2 kiddos.
And you were kind of there in Harvest before it was the Harvest we know now.
Yeah.
Like
I was early. I was like 35 or 36.
I remember coming. I mean, and we might have been just a little bit before that.
When did Design Sign start?
We started in, as far as the federal government is concerned, 2010.
Oh, okay.
But it actually goes back to 2009.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we had made an introduction there, and I remember there. What's funny is there's people that are still there.
yeah.
They were low, middle, on the totem pole at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brad Bloss was there, probably, and Jordan, Defani, and all these
Jordan's
guys.
still there.
Jordan's still there. Oh, yeah.
So Jordan's there.
I talk to him all the time.
Yeah, Jordan's a great guy. Just
so many
great culture.
Great people.
culture.
Oh, yeah.
Ross has really done a good job with that place, but it wasn't what
it is now, for sure. Well, when I was at Smucker's, it's interesting how your kind of different stages of your career kind of come to be. I had been at Smucker's for a few years and liked the selling aspect, and I wanted to step into account management. I'm like, now I understand it. I'm kind of getting how this all works. I want to step into like carry the bag. Let's do this. I want to be account manager. Well, at the time, Smucker's was like, hey, you probably need to go spend some time at the corporate office, potentially there, maybe go for work for another retail team, go to Cincinnati, go to like the Publix team, whatever. And now we had 2 kids at the time. What goes?
No, I know.
Listen,
go away.
Go away. It's like this is Walmart and Sam's Club.
All right.
This is our number one customer. You don't know what the heck you're doing. You're not an account manager. Like you don't have enough experience yet to be able to do that. And for where they were at the time, there wasn't really any place for me to go, and I didn't want to move away. So Stephanie wasn't interested in moving to Ohio at the time. No offense to Ohio's awesome. It's great.
Compared to Northwest Arkansas,
Nothing is better than Northwest Arkansas.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
So
it's the honeypot.
Duh. So we had 2 kids, young kids. My second son was born in 2014, so it was like, he's like young. We're not leaving. Friends at Harvest Group were like, hey, why don't you just come work over here? You can be an account manager. I actually worked with Jordan Defani closely for like a couple years.
Trip was there too.
Trip was there.
Yeah.
Not long after I started.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
Amazing people, man.
Yeah.
I worked there for 5 years.
Yeah. Good culture.
Amazing. And so this is before, they moved to the office there. And now it was just fun, man. It was like early days of Harvest had been around for a while for sure. But it was still like
it was starting to really, the flower was starting to really.
Yeah. I learned a ton, man. I learned a ton there. So I jumped back into kind of the agency side and started working for Harvest.
Gotcha.
And that's where we connected.
Yeah. Absolutely. I remember.
I take clients to you all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like, what can we, I'm like, I don't know. Ask Matt, ask Design Signs. I don't know. And I'm sure most of them were so bad. I'm so sorry.
These files are horrible.
These people don't.
We'll just recreate them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. And so then you jumped over into the arena world for a short time.
Yep.
And what was the allure there?
I mean, just a smaller team. I had a couple friends that were over there.
Yeah.
And it was another kind of season for my career where I wanted something different.
Gotcha.
It was like it was about that time where the idea for us starting our own business kind of started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like that determined. That wasn't like the reason I left Harvest Group necessarily, but it was like I needed to change. Mm-hmm. I was in a place where
I understand.
I was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
And so I left Harvest and at the same time started working on our own business on the side too.
Gotcha. Okay. So
it's kind of happening simultaneously. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. So where did you have a clear vision of, what you were going to do? I mean, did you have the idea, or was it more like we've got to figure out something? And which I know, I'm assuming when I say this, but in your with your history, with your career history, you're trained to look for the gaps.
Yep. Yes.
And so, is that where Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just kind of explain that. Start from the beginning.
I'll give some background, some context for how this came to be. So I was personally going through, I had spent most of my career around people who were starters, founders, dreaming, visionaries, like doing stuff like that. North Star, even some guys at Smuckers, for sure at Harvest Group, for sure at Arena. And so I just was finding myself around these people that are like doing stuff. And I start to develop my own like sense of, man, what if I want to do something, you know, what if we could start our own thing?
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
So I will say, and I'm going to say this and then follow up with a question. So in banking, it was the same way. I saw the financial side of things. I saw people that were doing little things, you know, mom and pop shops, people that were putting their neck on the line for products. And I saw, you know, big business all at once. Yeah. And I got to see them at the time when the recession was popping. So there was a lot of, when things were really good and plentiful, and then the next thing it's when, the flip, you know. Yeah. And I got to see people that were prepared for it and people that weren't. And that gave me a little confidence. But also, did you, in this time, and I asked this because I will tell you transparently, I thought the same thing. It's like, were there anybody that you said to yourself, well, this guy can do it?
I can for sure do it.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So a few things happened, like during the period of like, let's call it 2015 to 2019, like 3 or 4 year period. So this is like a long period of time. A couple things happened. One, it became clear to me that I didn't have much control over my time in life. The reality of, we had our third kid came in 2017. And I'm just looking at, like, I loved the people I got to work with. I love my job. But when I'm getting home at 5:30, 6 every day, seeing my kids for a little bit and they're going to bed, for me, I was like, this is not great. This is not like a great, I want to be an intentional dad.
More flexible.
I need more time with my kids. It just became clear that, like, I don't really have like control over this thing. I didn't feel like it at the time, for sure. Those companies were awesome. There was a lot of flexibility. There was a great culture. It was great people, but it was just like, I still was like, there's this itch in me that was like, I was messed up about it. So for a while, I just kept, Stephanie and I were talking, like, what does that look like? How are we going to be able to, what do we need to do? So we're reading, we're watching Shark Tank, we're looking at product ideas, we're looking at people starting their own thing. And so we're just looking around like, there's got to be something we can do. So the other piece to your question, Jordan Wright is a good friend of mine, the guy who started Wright's Barbecue. We were walking, we're friends with him and we're doing life with him. And so I'm seeing him kind of start Wright's.
Amazing story there.
Amazing story. You should have, Jordan's the man. Jordan just is
I don't know
amazing.
So put in a plug. Let's get him on
I
here.
love, he's the best. I'm watching him, and I'm like, no offense to Jordan, but if Jordan Wright can do this, I can do this. If Jordan Wright can figure this out, I can figure this out. And I love Jordan. He's one of my best friends. And so I'm like, but I mean, he clearly had a vision for a brand, and he's got incredible product and skill. He had his own thing, and that's not my world. Right. I can't do that. He has.
You're not a sauce guy.
I don't know how to make a brisket.
You're not a smoked meat guy.
No, I'm not a smoked meat guy. But like, find my lane. Yeah. Like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And so what I knew was products, brands, manufacturing, like all this space, like consumer goods. And so like, I have a natural bent toward that. And so I'm like, that was began to kind of surface as like, maybe we could create something. Maybe we could start something in that space.
Interesting. Yeah. So what made you guys land on, well, actually, let's take a step back. Let's get an idea of your product. So what do we do? Let's what did you say?
What do we do? What do we do?
Oh, I thought you said voodoo, and I was
voodoo? Like, no. What do we do? Oh, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, no, it's all right. You move it quick. It's all right. No, it's all right. Hey, look, we're here to have a good time.
I'm having fun.
So, me too. So, tell everybody about your product.
Yeah. So, we started a brand called Duncan Stone Paper Company, where we make keepsake journals, prompted giftable items, and memory keeping goods. So the original idea of the brand, we've for sure, it looks different in 2024 than it did in 2019, for sure. Mm-hmm. But in 2019, Stephanie and I and some of our good friends, Sarah and Garland, were talking, like, Sarah was running her own Etsy business. Mm-hmm. So Sarah, these are some of our best friends. Mm-hmm. She was selling like invitations, cards, all sorts of items. One of the items that she created was a pregnancy card set. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it goes through development and like how to pray for your baby and also very cool like item. She's created it. Well, she started selling it on Etsy, like selling quite a bit on Etsy. And we were hanging out with them and like watching her pack. You know, it's like Etsy is built on like handmade goods, right? It's kind of like that platform. And it was truly what she was doing. She's packing up stuff, and Stephanie and I are just watching this going like, wait, what is happening right now? Mm-hmm. Like, this is clearly going well. And we start asking questions, and we start going, asking about the operations of how she's doing it, how she's selling, what are her sales on Etsy, et cetera, et cetera. And what other items could we create? And so it just kind of one thing led to the other where we're like, Sarah's going, hey, I love creating amazing items. Mm-hmm. She's one of my co-founders, like marketing director. She makes all our stuff. It's amazing. She doesn't want to run a business. Mm-hmm. She had no desire to do that. Mm-hmm. So we kind of came together. Yeah. She found her lane, and we still operate in that way. She said, okay, and this took a period of almost a year, 6 months, a year of us kind of processing through this. What if we just started a business? Mm-hmm. And the original idea was, let's make items that are more like timeless keepsake items. So if you looked at the marketplace in 2019, childhood books, cards, whatever, flowery, it's like all these designs, all this stuff. And Sarah's like, what happens in 10 years or 20 years when those designs aren't popular? What happens? And so we start like thinking through pregnancy journal ideas and her card set that she was selling. What if we turn that into a journal so you can journal and write through your pregnancy? So our first items were around that space of, you know, we had a couple card sets, the pregnancy cards, we relaunched them in a different format basically. And so we were like in a pregnancy journal, and that's kind of how we started. That's awesome. Like, hey, we wanted to. The whole goal was for capturing moments and memories. And so obviously pregnancy, we ended up launching childhood books and all sorts of, we can get into what happened post 2019, 2020, but
what happened? So real quick, let me take a step back here on this. The one thing I do appreciate about the Duncan and Stone pieces that I've seen is you guys use very tasteful design and all that you do. It's not. It's very. It's. I wouldn't say classic because it's not old, but it is. It has an elegance to it.
That's really cool. I appreciate saying that.
And it's something that you looks like you want to hang on to. It's not just a quick little fun throwaway. It's truly something from start to finish. Yes. You're documenting life.
Yep.
And when somebody picks that up 50 years from now, it's still going to look
good.
Yeah.
And that's I'll tell Sarah you said that because that's some great feedback. And when we were developing our first journal item, the original I posted about this on LinkedIn. I post all sorts of crazy stuff on LinkedIn.
Well,
I like it. I love it. But if you look at our first design, it wasn't that kind of clean, elegant look originally. And Sarah and Stephanie got feedback. I've never been super involved in the product development stuff. That's not my sweet spot. Like, I can proofread for sure. She doesn't want me designing stuff. No one does. So, but they got feedback from like people like, it needs to be more clean. It needs to be more like timeless. This is too much. So like we made a whole shift of we're going to build our brand around timeless keepsakes. So all of them look very similar.
Trims. And like the trim.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
The gold.
And it's Sarah. It's not me. So we made that shift, and we started, man, we could spend a whole nother 4 hours talking about what happened in 2019 to 2020. But basically we said, we came together, 4 owners. Mm-hmm. We said, we're going to do this. We're going to figure out how to launch a business. All I thought was, let's launch and let's do an e-commerce business. Mm-hmm. Seems like
what was the platform you used?
We started on Amazon. Actually.
Okay.
Yep.
Where it's for those that are listening to this, where can we find Duncan and Stone?
You can find us on the interwebs anywhere.
Okay.
DuncanandStone.com. Mm-hmm. That's the place to go. I would go there first. You can find us on Amazon and Etsy. So those 3 channels we sell in TikTok shops now, which is a whole fiasco.
What's that like,
dude? It's crazy out there. It's like a wild, wild west.
Well, I see.
It's weird.
Here's the thing. So, then kind of getting off subject, but that's all right.
That's fine.
I love TikTok. I'm sorry. I do love TikTok. I don't care. Dude.
You do?
Gosh, man.
What?
Dude, so I'm not a big Facebook guy. I quit. The only reason I'm familiar with all the social medias is because I have to be. Mm. I am not a big social media advocate.
Yep.
And the only reason I still have a Facebook or Instagram account is because, honestly, of family. That that's a communication point.
Yep.
But I regret sharing my family on it so much because I really, and this is a personal thing.
Yeah.
I didn't give them the option of their, and plus the stuff that's going on too with AI.
Yeah. That's true.
We're giving a lot of people facial blueprints and all kinds of stuff.
It's kind of weird.
I won't get off into that. That's more for a conspiracy club kind of thing, which I plan to do sometime.
I'll tune into that.
Yeah. I'll tell you more about that. But anyways, all I'd say, TikTok though. Hey, no, I don't care. Look, so here's the first thing. It's not going away. Now, we'll put this on record as me saying it's not going away. If somebody's going to buy it before it goes away.
That's true.
It's too powerful. It did in 4 years what Instagram took 10 years to do, right?
Yeah.
On top of it, we all have the attention span of essentially a goldfish. This is truth. You can look this up as far as the majority
of
Americans have the
gosh.
I'm one of them. And there's nothing better. Well, I mean, that's why YouTube Shorts is so popular. Yeah. It's because it's basically, and that's why all these other guys put out Reels, and because they're following that TikTok model, because TikTok is literally just a few minute videos. And you can see, and the algorithm is so strong, it will feed you stuff so quickly. If you don't like it, you flip up, and all of a sudden here's something you like. It's like, dude, what? I have got, Leslie gets on to me all the time. I will just say, well, I'm just going to get on for a minute.
For a minute. How long?
And I'm at the age, too, where, my kids are doing their thing. Vince is out, doing his thing. Grace is doing her thing. Leslie's doing her thing. So if I got a few minutes to spare and I'm lazy, I'll just get on there and see what's going on that TikTok. But dude, I am telling you, it is the Wild Wild West. You can see just about anything and everything there. And I'm having guys that are in business telling me they're just absolutely smoking it on the TikTok shop.
Dude, it's legit. I will verify this.
Really?
For us, it's the same thing.
That's awesome.
Well, and for me, I had a lot of questions about. I was like, I don't know. We sell keeps. I don't know. Maybe our brand isn't a good fit for TikTok shops. I don't know.
No, I disagree.
Oh, well, dude, clearly it is, because we're selling like crazy on there right now.
Well, the thing is especially with in my opinion, as a creative with the very specific themes you have. Yeah. Dude, all it takes is that somebody, pregnant mom.
Meaningful. And so that's where our childhood parenting, types of items, childhood memory book, pregnancy journals, whatever, baby's first year book, which is one of these in here.
It's awesome.
They do really well. All our stuff is super meaningful and connecting and bringing people together. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And so the hardest part is just finding creators to partner with, Awesome. So anyway, it's going good. So back to your question. Yeah. And all online. So
fantastic.
Oh yeah. So we launched in 2020
what's the growth in
the spring?
I'm not asking numbers. Yeah.
Up.
Good. That's correct.
You're like, what does that mean?
Upwards arrow.
No, listen,
I'm not asking for numbers. I'm just saying every year.
Yeah, it's growing right now this year 30 or 40%. But
That's epic. It's great.
We've been growing every year since we started,
and
by far.
So here's the thing. So let me just speak to that. You know, I'm talking to several people right now. This isn't this conversation, but our economy's not the best we've ever seen it.
Nope.
Despite what some may say, I'll sit there and argue, but I know industry, and there's in different industries, and in so many industries, unless it is something that is a necessity, everyone else is seeing. I've heard we're down 15%. I've heard we're down 20%. I've heard we're down 30%. Those are hard numbers.
Yeah.
So to be someone that is 30 or 40% up.
Growth. Yep. That's great.
Well, when the economy rebounds,
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, we've continued to grow. We've, it's just building a brand now. We're trying to get our brand out there. So we're 4+ years into it, trying to grow every channel as much as we can, doing TikTok shops, we're bringing in different people to help us grow the brand.
That's great.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk about the early days.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah. So what was it like? What kind of shock was it like going from corporate America into the guy that's hustling boxes in your garage?
Oh, my gosh.
Because I followed you for a long time. You know, I've always thought highly of you and all that you were doing. And I always love entrepreneurs. Yeah. And you've always had a very upbeat, positive, let's just get it done kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And so I always thought you guys were going to be successful.
I appreciate that.
But the funny thing is you have documented yourself to a certain extent that people can kind of see the pains. Trust me, I guarantee you, knowing what it is to be an entrepreneur, we haven't seen probably 1/8 of it. Yeah. But you post the funny stuff, and and I remember when I think it's when you got one of your first orders, and I can't remember what sarcastic comment you said, but it was like a garage full of boxes, and you're in there, it's
so crazy.
And so what was it like?
It was It's been a wild ride. So when we launched the business, I still had a full-time job. So in 2020, when we launched,
I didn't know. I
still had I had a full-time job still. So it was a side.
I forgot. That's right.
It was a side hustle. It was a side hustle. So
that's right.
Until 2021. So at first of 2021, I jumped in full-time, and I was like the first employee of Duncan Stone paper company. And we had been operating like all hands on deck for the first year of our business. And so in 2021, as kind of like I'm all in on doing this, it was not pretty, Matt. It was not pretty. Like what transpired that year was me trying to figure out like detoxing, working in a corporate environment, like schedule when you go to the office and you work for these like a company, it's like, what do we here's our plans, here's our meetings, here's the client stuff here. It's like you have deliverables. I left that world and I'm like, what the heck am I doing?
It's up to you.
Like what am I doing?
It's up to you to prioritize.
Exactly. And I'm like, what do I even work on?
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm fulfilling and doing these other random things, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do with my time? Stephanie's works part-time on the business. We have young kids, so she's at home doing stuff. Sarah's also part-time and works and has young kids too. So I'm like kind of got some help, but mostly just solo. And so, dude, it was tough. It was really tough because I just didn't have enough clarity and understanding of like what I should be working on and doing. And so I was just spinning. And it was partly because I had this kind of thing in my mind of when you start your own business, when you're like a entrepreneur, you got to figure it out. You got to freaking work. You got to grind. You got to hustle. You got to do it. So I was just, I'm just doing stuff. I don't know. I don't know if it was good or bad. I was just doing stuff, whatever it was, calling people, doing this, doing that, doing that. And my business partners, one of them, my wife, is like, dude, this is not going to work. You are a maniac. You are being out of control.
Really?
Oh, dude, we got halfway through the year, and Stephanie looked at me. She's like, I thought the goal was like for you to run your own business and enjoy your life and have more freedom. Mm-hmm. You actually have the opposite. You're more stressed. Mm-hmm. You're working way more. Mm-hmm. You actually are present. Mm-hmm. This isn't a win. This is not what we dreamed of.
That is a great point. Let's stop right there. Let's stay there in that point. But so whenever you said earlier in the conversation, you said coming home and, 5, 6 o'clock, I'm not having trouble with my kids. And I was like, what? That is?
I'm going to go start my own business. What a horrible idea. Yeah. It's way worse. You know that meme where it's like the guy's like, I quit my 9-to-5 job to work 24/7? Yeah. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned so much about myself, and I've gotten mentors and just grown a lot. One, the business continues to grow, so I'm like able to like, we're able to outsource and partner and hire people. You know what I mean? Like we were just doing everything at the time, which I'm not sure if that was right or wrong, but that's what we're doing. And so I've been able to kind of remove myself from a lot of things. But what a silly idea, because like I was like, it's so hard. Starting your own business is not easy. No. It's not easy.
You're everything.
It's everything.
Your human resources.
I mean,
your accounting, your fulfillment, your marketing.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's everything.
So I felt that. I felt that like stress. Now listen, if I could go back, I'd do it again. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. Like I'm like the grit. Mike Harvey works at Harvest Group, and he's a amazing man, amazing leader, and a friend of mine. And
never heard of. Heard about him. Never met him.
Never met him. Great man. He's amazing. We caught up earlier this year, and he was like, he was just like wanting to hear more of the story, like what's been going on the last couple of years. And something he said to me that was real meaningful. He said, "You went through those tough seasons, that year or two of that you had to like work. You developed grit. You developed this resiliency that allowed you to keep pushing through. Like most people probably give up. Mm-hmm. Like I was just like, it would have been easy for me to just be like, I listen, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to call somebody that I can go work for and just go back to do it, to do that. But I just kept pushing through. Mm-hmm. So it was trial by fire for me that first year.
But that's great though.
Man, I mean, it was part of the journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish that, as part of me is like, there's a lot of things I wasn't doing wrong for sure that we had to fix. We got a lot of stuff right. After that year, I literally like got to the end of that year, business was growing like crazy. Like we were thankfully like continuing to grow despite my like lack of understanding of how to do what I was supposed to do. We're growing like crazy. I got to the end of the year and I was like, working for Duncan Stone sucks. This sucks. Like I literally told my business partners, like, I'm out. Being a business owner sounds amazing.
Right.
Being an employee of this business sucks.
Yeah.
This is not, I'm losing it. Like I'm stressed out of my mind.
It's too much.
It's too much. And so we had a real come to Jesus moment of like, we got to figure out what the issue is. I need to figure out some stuff personally for sure. But there's some business issues that we have that we need to start figuring out. And that's what we started doing in 2022. And then it kind of, over the last few years, it's like, this has been great. It's been great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
That's fantastic.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, that's a testament to the true cycles of things. I could tell you, we've been doing design signs for almost 15 years now, which is unbelievable.
Dude. That's crazy.
So
great, dude. I love what y'all do.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I really do. We try really hard. And awesome. But I could tell you, over the 15 years, everybody that asks for the story, it's really hard to summarize it in anything quick. It's kind of a novel because there are different. I tell everybody
season chapters.
Well, it is. It's different. Well, I'm trying to define it because it's not really season. It is, but it isn't. Like the best way I can describe it is, yes, the business has had different chapters. Like I tell everybody, we're actually in business model number 4 because of the evolution of where we what we started with compared to where we are now. But while that's going on, everybody that's heavily involved with it, that's in on the granular level of things, they're changing too. And that affects those chapters as well. You know, you're saying about finding yourself. 120%, I'm a different guy now than I was when we started at 26. And the business has made me grow up. And then in turn, made the business grow up. I mean, it's just really
like
weird.
Cyclical thing.
It's an evolution. You know, you're intertwined.
Well, I think there's this thing. I follow people that are super successful on LinkedIn and everywhere else, and what I find interesting is like the view of somebody like an outsider looking in to somebody's life or to success of Design Steins is like, man, you've been really successful. Like there's just this image that we can easily portray of success and growth, and we're killing it, we're crushing it, we're up whatever, doing all this and that. Like that's not really what's happening behind the scenes. It's definitely not. Yes, you can experience some success, but there's a lot of heartache behind that. There's a lot of stress behind it.
It's I can't tell you the life. Here's where I've come to. Our life force, for anything to be successful, we have to give it some of our life force. And sometimes there's not a return on that. And now there is, but there isn't. But you give so much of yourself away if you're passionate and you care and you want to see, you're driven. But I could tell you, I 120% believe that it has lowered my life expectancy.
Absolutely, 100% it has. No doubt about it.
There's at least
so funny.
At least by 5 6 years, maybe
easily. That's so funny.
And people don't understand that, and that's why that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast too. Is because and I'm not trying to be the gripey old man, but there's a lot of guys. Let's face the facts. Out there today, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of consultants, there's a lot of, entrepreneurs, and there's real entrepreneurs, and then there's a lot of speakers, there's a lot of influencers, and some of those speakers and influencers, dude, they're just full of it. I mean, have you been
totally.
It's for people that are actually in the entrepreneurial weeds. I don't know about you, but I catch myself. I start listening to these guys like you can tell right away.
And this guy
is not legit. He is. He's maybe had a little bit of success, but there's no way. There's no way by the things that he's saying that the grind has been there. An entrepreneur who's been through the grinder.
The grinder.
It's not a grind. The grinder. Shoot out, spit out.
It's true.
And there's such a huge difference, and that's why it's great to hear the honesty and the transparency of these things, because people need to understand. And there's nothing that will piss me off faster than like hearing some of these guys, whether it be politicians or whether it be the phony baloney dudes that are tell people the expectancies of what an entrepreneur should be. Because like, dude, everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own journey. You can read every book. And don't get me wrong, I've read a lot of books. All 3 of them. And but you read a lot of books, and you can pull some knowledge from it, but there's no way you're replicating that journey.
No way.
It's
impossible.
It's different, man. And
I love it, dude.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think that I love what you just described, honestly, because the reality of giving yourself over to something you believe in, it's not a business thing. It's way bigger than just like starting your own business.
Oh, yeah.
It can apply to anything, any area of your life, health,
100%.
wealth, family, faith, whatever it may be. It's like, what do you actually, it takes work. It takes effort. I tell my sons all the time, man, I'm like, you want to be a great basketball player or whatever it may be. You want to be whatever it may be. You have to freaking work at it. It's not going to just happen.
No.
And that's the truth of like, I've seen so many people, and I love talking to people about starting something. I love it, and I love thinking about new ideas. But the reality is, like, what are you actually going to do? To, like, you have an idea. Is this not like, are you wanting to work on it? You wanting to grow? You wanting to do it? What are you sacrificing to do it? It takes work.
So a great guy in the industry told me one time. He said, there's two sayings I want to share. One goes back to a minute ago, but I'll talk about this right now. He told me, he said, Matt, this is at lunch one day. He looked at me, he goes, Matt, you know what? And I said, what? And he goes, ideas are cheap. I was like, ideas are cheap. And I just kind of took a step back. I was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, there's a million great ideas out there. There's a lot of people that just have a great, understanding of it. This would be a great product. But what they don't understand is, how do you create that product? How do you market that product? How do you sell that product? I mean, there's so many things. And ideas are cheap. Yeah. And then in relation to success, I've shared this on here several times. It's one of my favorites by the great Patrick Sparrow, the godfather of retailtainment in Northwest Arkansas and in Walmart, really. I asked him one time in a personal conversation, because I was a little frustrated with where Design Times was at the time. And I said, how did you do it, man? What was the secret sauce if you had to pinpoint it? Pinpoint, but I was, what was this? What was it? You give me.
I need it.
Yes.
I need it.
Please
What's
share.
the secret, man?
And he just slowly grins. It's one of those things, as I'm asking the question, he's starting to grin. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, Matt, it only took me 13 years to become an overnight success.
Oh, my gosh.
And that goes back to what you said. With the perception of things, what they don't see is what they don't see is the nights, quite frankly, that you were having a panic attack, or the nights that you woke up at 3 a.m. because your subconscious would not let you sleep because you knew this is on the line. How am I going to achieve this? Or the times that your children were playing in front of you and you were supposed to be engaged in the moment, but you were tuned out, staring off into space thinking, what have I done or what am I going to do? They don't see that. All they see is the reward. But here's the reality though. It's such entrepreneurship is such a drug. I heard a guy describe it one time. What is it like to be a business owner, an entrepreneur? That he said, I don't know who quoted this, but he said, you can have the best day of your life and the worst day of your life within the same hour. It's so good. It's true. It's true.
It's so true.
But here's the thing, though. I guarantee you, if I ask you, I ask Garrett, why don't you just go back to corporate America?
I'm ruined.
Yeah. You can't do it.
I can't.
It's like if you're truly there, once you turn that corner.
Dude, I'm ruined.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely ruined.
Yes.
I can't stop thinking about what I might do next.
That's basically it.
Oh, gosh.
That's it. And that's it. It's the possibilities. It's the knowing what you know and connecting the dots to all these things. And, if the good Lord ever takes me away from Design Steins, which I pray that he doesn't, but, you never know. That's nothing to tell entrepreneurs. It sounds pessimistic, which I am, for clarity. You're a natural optimist.
Okay.
I think you're a natural optimist.
I am.
I'm a natural pessimist.
Really?
I come from the deep south. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm the first one that says, like when I see a deal in front of us, the first thing I think is, how are we going to get screwed on this?
Are you serious?
100%. It saved our bacon on several things.
That's probably better.
Well, don't get me wrong. I have to work on it though, because that's not really good for culture. To be to the guy like, all right, here's what they're trying to do. Because it's not that. It's just I look for the holes. I'm not like negative all the time. It's just like I'm looking for that. But what's good is to have people that offset you. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not always looking like we're getting screwed out of this deal, but I'm very protective. It comes from an area of protection is where it comes from.
It's like, I like that, dude.
And so we have, you have to have a little bit of both, is what I'm getting at, and you have to be able to offset your optimism with, well, hold on, let's put the brakes on things. But at the same time, you need to be excited for the future.
I love it.
So,
well, man.
Well, I appreciate this time. Yes. We're right on the money. Look at that.
Right at one.
All right.
Dude, I had a blast.
Well, I have had a fantastic time, and I appreciate you coming on, and I hope you'll do it again.
Always.
All right.
Always. Appreciate it a ton, man.
Mr. Garrett?
It was great.
Wow.
It was great. I love it, man.
Love you, brother.
Love you, dude. See you, man.